Hello, and welcome to Data Sunrise demo. In this demo, you will see how to set up, how to configure SSL key group for the connections to the proxy from client and user side. Now, what should we do? First of all, we have to know that there are several key types or SSL key groups that can be created inside of Data Sunrise. Let me show you an example. Here we see the Data Sunrise SSL key group types that we can have is proxy SSL key group or database interface. Why there's such a difference? The proxy keys are used to connect from user side to Data Sunrise proxy. Users can validate these keys, the certificates, the full chain of certificates, and check the validity of the host name and also the validity of certificate itself. Database interface key type are created for Data Sunrise itself. So Data Sunrise proxy can validate the host name of the database instance and the certificate of the database provided. So these two key pairs can help you to validate each endpoint and certificates and encrypt the traffic inside of each of these connections to Data Sunrise proxy and from Data Sunrise itself to the database instance. What kind of prerequisites are required to meet as requirements to up and running, to make the solution up and running? But first of all, we need to have a fully qualified domain name for our Data Sunrise instance. In my case, this is a fancy name, but it's still, this name is valid, but it's reachable from my IP address, and I've installed server, installed Data Sunrise instance on the server, and it's reachable from my IP address. So I can navigate not only by IP address, but domain name as well. This is the first line. Also, it is required that all ports on the server, which I use for Data Sunrise proxy, should be open, all required ports. For example, this port 11,000, which provides me with a web UI of Data Sunrise. And also, since I need to generate keys like SSL keys, I need access by SSH to the server. So if you use default port number 22, that should be open too. Okay, the second condition. And also that should be open ports to connect remotely, for example, from my computer, which I use for tests, to the proxy itself. It means also that I need to have some configuration of the database instance configured and properly configured inside of Data Sunrise. And also Data Sunrise itself should reach the database instance. So the database should be reachable. Right. Also, we need to have a certificate authority that we can use to generate the full chain of certificates and the private key for this particular server. If you have a Microsoft Active Directory, for example, or any similar certificate authority, then you can use it inside of your enterprise, or maybe you would like to use some publicly available certificate authority like Let's Encrypt. Okay, in my case, I will use Let's Encrypt to generate the full chain of certificates and the private key for Data Sunrise proxy to validate the connection, to validate the host name and validate the certificate itself. Right? Now, we see that we need to review though the architecture, but how it will happen. So what we'll see there. So I already mentioned that it is required that we have something like certificate authority. Right? So the certificate authority role in the proxy mode is as following. So the users, when they connect to Data Sunrise in the proxy mode, or the firewall mode, they can check the validity of the certificate provided from Data Sunrise proxy. They check against the certificate authority, saying, okay, hey, there is a certificate authority. Let's check the certificate, okay? And I received from this endpoint. The certificate authority says, okay, yeah, you can go ahead because I provided, yes, this is a proper certificate. And what about the host name of this IP address and host? And the certificate authority also confirms that I've issued that certificate, that it's valid. So go ahead and encrypt the connection with the key provided from the host. So you can use the certificate authority again in your organization, your enterprise, or use some third party or publicly available like Let's Encrypt. Again, the certificate authority can be used on another connection from retryWrites to the database instance. But in my example, I will use only this side. I will configure only this side from users to retryWrites proxy. Now, let's configure all that together. But before we start the process, I would like to make sure what kind of keys, what kind of settings retryWrites has by default. Right? So let's go to retryWrites configuration and databases and see what's inside of my MongoDB database instance. First, we see there are some proxies here, so listening on specific ports, and this is an endpoint or the remote interface, which is used to connect to the remote database of this cluster. When we go to these interface settings, we see that there is no key used here, right? So SSL encryption is activated. When we go to each of the proxies, we see that every time when a newly database instance is configured, retryWrites provides me with the default proxy.pem file. And we'll talk about it later a little bit. So the port is available here, and it accepts only SSL connections. So if retryWrites provides me with some SSL keys, maybe I can connect from my workstation. Maybe I will be able to encrypt the communication and make sure that everything is okay. Let's try to do that, and we'll see what will happen if we'll use MongoDB shell to connect to this port and this host name. If we'll try to force a TLS connection to this endpoint. So there is my command to use mongosh shell, and this is my server, the retryWrites demo. And here I force to use TLS equals true. Also, I will provide with the password. It will take some time while the client and the server will try to negotiate and come to some conclusion how valid is the endpoint, the certificate, and how to encrypt the connection, and so on and so forth. But it will not work, because I did not put any exceptions. Like, I don't want to have any risk. I don't put any flags like ignore invalid certificate, ignore invalid hostname. That's why the server says yes, self-signed certificate is provided, and the mongosh shell says, well, I cannot work this way. This is like an improper way. It's too risky, so let's reject the certificate provided by retryWrites by default. And please probably think about your own certificate that should be issued and can be validated, right? Now, let's use certbot to generate the full chain of certificates on the private key. Let's use the command certbot, certonly. Again, I'm logged into the machine with the domain name. Let's Encrypt can validate as a certificate authority. Then we see that it starts logging, and it will ask me, first, spin up a temporary web server, standalone, and then place files in web root directory, whatever. So my choice is number 1, since my port number 80 is accessible from outside of this server. So in this case, it will use the first question here. The second question actually here is the name of the domain, right? So I need to put the name of the domain, or here, let's paste it here, ds demo, Then it's requesting a certificate from DSDemo. It will take some time. And let's see how it was created. Your certificate and chain have been saved under this path. Very good. So we can change directly to that directory. And let's list what we have. We have here the full chain of certificates. Okay. Excellent. So actually this live folder has a symbolic link to the archive. So let's go up a little bit. Archive, go there. That's great. So there's archive, and then cdds demo. So now here we have several files finally. So actually these are files, not symbolic links, no references. You see that there's a full chain. It's very important. There's a full chain 1.pem file. So first step here that we have to take this full chain and cut the contents and see what's in there. Definitely, we need the full contents, the entire file. Take to data summarize and then use it as a proxy PM with full chain of certificates. Now I'm here on the configuration. In order to create a new SSL key group, I go here and navigate and add a new group name. Then the name will be proxy key. And please make sure that they select the proxy and then paste the contents of the certificate here, including this end line and certificate. The second thing that we need to create, we need to use the private key. Then the private key here, so we'll scroll it up a little bit, is a privkey1.pem. So let's take the contents of the privkey file. This is like a secret key to encrypt the connection. And we take this private key to data summarize and put it under the private key edit box. Now let's save it. If everything is okay, then we use this private key here. So we remember that we need to apply this key to our proxy connection. How to do that? We go to databases, then go to database, and here for each proxy we're going to use this verifiable key. Now we'll choose, instead of the proxy key, we choose the proxy key appear here. Please be in mind again that you can change or replace the contents of the default folder, which is opt/data summarize and then the proxy.pem file. So this is like an alternative, right? We'll need to put the full chain, so certificates and the private key as well. In my case, I'll choose the second option here, save it. And for each proxy, I will do the same. This is for number 2, 3. It's part of my cluster. I hope 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, since I've applied a new proxy, a new key for the proxy, what we can do, and we can try to test it now the same way I have tested from my machine, connecting to data summarize proxy with self-signed certificate, and it failed for different. So again, let's do the same. Let's do the same command. Let's switch to my shell. This is my computer, it's ONIC and DS laptop 01. So I just push up and then the mongosh shell will appear here, and again I'll provide a password, a secret one that should be saved. So place, paste, go ahead. Now it works. And the reason is that this mongosh shell is capable to validate the certificate that's provided and the domain name provided against the certificate authority. And since we've configured the proper key, we provided the proper key for the proxy, mongosh works like a charm, encrypting the connection and validating the certificate without any exception and risk, security risk, and so on. Excellent. So next step I'm going to do, I'm going to start Compass Web UI. All right, it disappeared, MongoDB Compass. This is my DS demo connection. The general information says here this will be the MongoDB again connection and to my DS demo machine. And the very important thing is TLS SSL should be on in order to force this connection. And no exception here is selected. It's like DataSonai should provide us some certificate and we should validate it and see no exception for that. Let's connect. It works. So we see all the data, sample data provided and from this information, right, from these files and so on. So this way we've connected through DataSonai's proxy and we have generated the full chain of certificates for DataSonai in the proxy mode. Excellent. So another way how we can test that we have provided the proper certificate is we can use openssl command and we can validate what we actually created. Let's do that. There is openssl command. This one. Let's exit from the shell and let's paste the command. The command will use openssl and it will work as a client and it shows me certificates for the server name DS demo and the connect to DS demo, and the port will be the first proxy I've configured. What will happen? It's interesting thing that will tell me what actually happened. The certificate is provided here. So it provides me with information, the full information about what would CM, the common name, and the certificate, who is the issuer, right, certificate authority, publicly validatable, right? So I can validate it and see what kind of cipher is used and so on and so forth. So this is how we can test, how we can check additionally the certificate to make sure that we can connect to the proper endpoint and it will, this server also will use the properly generated certificate and the private key for the encryption purposes, right? So we see that openssl validated, provided us with the detailed information. Okay, as we can see with DataSonai, it's very easy to configure validatable certificates, right, and use it in the full chain of certificates and the private key. So any client connection can check the certificate provided by DataSonai, right? The validity of certificate, the name, and the certificate itself. This ensures the trustworthy connections between clients and the proxy of DataSonai itself. So we hope this demo will help you to eliminate any security issues and any security risk with SSL certificates and DataSonai instances. Thank you for watching.